James, I know that the Europa League, obviously, there's so many tremendously talented players that we find out in this competition. We got two big teams from Italy in there with Juventus and Roma. Obviously, Sevilla, maybe they should have this trophy named after them, in my personal opinion.
Sevilla Invitational, yeah, I think that would be quite a good name for it. The Unai Emery Invitational, or Unai Emery presents the Sevilla Invitational.
They were so unlucky against Juventus away from home. I couldn't believe they almost got that victory in the last seconds of the game, conceding that goal. Let's turn our attention to that one real quickly before we obviously discuss Xabi Alonso and Leverkusen up against Mourinho and Roma. Mike, I'll come to you on this one. Obviously, Juventus against Sevilla. I favor Juve to make it to the final. People think I'm crazy for that. Am I?
I think you're a little bit crazy. Probably not as crazy as me talking about Inter winning the Champions League, but this is a Sevilla side. They are the kings of the Europa League. Since they've gotten into the knockout stage, home is where the heart is for the side from Andalusia. And Yusuf El-Nesri, he loves to play at home. He loves to score goals in this competition. He was one goal or maybe two clear chances away from being even more of a hero. Getting that first leg goal will give him so much confidence. Sevilla, they will be kicking themselves for not seeing the game out because they will be happy to sit back, absorb, and wait for their one chance. The longer this game goes into the 90 minutes or maybe possible extra time, the needle goes towards Sevilla and that 12th man of their stadium. That will be a factor in this game.
James?
Not a huge amount more to add because, as I've been very clear, I'm not interested in this tie very much at all. But it is definitely the case that Sevilla are really rounding into form. Obviously, that 3-0 win away at Valladolid, I think, on Saturday or Sunday. Must have been Sunday. Whereas Juventus, obviously, there's so much hanging over them. I guess they know probably that they have to, from talking to colleagues in Italy and the like, they know they probably have to win this competition to play in the Champions League next season, play in any form of European football next season. I think that's more of an inhibiting factor, specifically with this Juventus team. It's hard to know why. It just is the sense I get of the way that Allegri has managed this team this season. I almost think they're far better when the pressure's off. I mean, that's why they've been wobbling in Serie A now that it's like, we could get second, we could blow it. So yeah, kind of fancy Sevilla for this one. But look, you know me, I'm all about Roma Leverkusen.
We'll get to that one in just a quick second here. I'm going to just mention the fact that obviously Allegri understands that Juve have been very inconsistent this year. From what we've seen from some of their superstars, it's been inconsistent performances. He's made some interesting choices with the starting 11 as well. So I'm really intrigued to see which 11 he goes with here. Producer Des put in a great comment here from Jose Luis Mendilibar. He's mentioning that he wants to renew, but the club insists on waiting until the end of the season to see if he can renew. This is a great comment that Producer Des put in here. Some of you thought this fool, he comes here for 3 months, he is a dead man. And well, he is not so dead. He is quite alive. I love to hear comments like that, especially when you've got a real opportunity of making it to a European final. If you watch them domestically, yeah, you're probably not enjoying them and wondering why the hell they're here. But this is their competition. They know how to have success in this competition. And I'm really excited to see if they have success once again against this Juve team. I'm intrigued to see how Juve perform. If Juve play well, I really believe that they can make it to a final. But again, this is another team that I just do not like to bet against, and that is Sevilla, so I'm staying well away from that game. James, it's time. Let's discuss Leverkusen against Roma. Xabi Alonso, obviously, so many people are talking about his future at Leverkusen. He is certainly a well-sought-after coach. Could it be Real Madrid? Could it be Spurs? Could it be every other bloody club?
He has said he's staying.
Yeah, saying he's staying. Yeah, everybody says they're staying, James. All right, until they're not. So, I mean, this is a big game for Xabi Alonso, and he's had a fantastic season at Leverkusen, especially after starting off poorly. They were losing games. They were inconsistent. They had some injuries, but they just couldn't get the team to play. And then all of a sudden it clicked. Go on a 15-game run without losing, or 14-game run without losing. And then all of a sudden find themselves 1-0 down against Roma going into the second leg. It's a great game to look forward to.
Yeah, and it has sort of slowed the momentum a little bit over the last few weeks. I mean, they drew away to, and I know Stuttgart are fighting for safety, and Leverkusen probably know that they're going to get top 6, but they're not getting top 4. And I suspect they probably rotated a little bit. I think the question really for me is that first leg was the Mourinho in Europe game. Roma slowed it down. They rode the early pressure and actually kept Leverkusen at arm's length. I thought they dealt with Diaby and Frimpong really well down that side. took that chance that came their way and just drove Leverkusen to distraction. Does that work as well in the BayArena? I mean, not that the BayArena is some great cauldron of noise and difficulty for Roma, but it's easier to do that sort of stuff when you've got your own fans cheering you on, and the pressure for the referee is from your fans, not from the Leverkusen fans. And it's tough. It's a really tight one. You kind of lean towards Roma on the basis that there's so much experience in that team. There's so many players that,
And on the bench.
that know the dark arts really well. But Wirtz, Diaby, Adley, that's a lot of game changers.
Yeah, James, I'm so glad that you're saying that about Mourinho. You will see the biggest bus parked in front of that Roma goal. Forget a mega bus. This will be the mega buses of mega buses, Mac 10 size truck covering that goal because of what you just said, Ian.
Or as you call it in America, a small family car.
In Texas,
Another
wait till you see
vehicle.
it. Wait, if you've been to Texas, whenever you come to Texas, those will be even bigger because everything's bigger here in Texas, including Victor Wembanyama. More on that later. But when you look at this matchup for Roma, it's about managing the game. Mourinho, I think the only wrinkle is leading up to this tie, they've played every second leg match at home at the Stadio Olimpico, and it was getting and staying competitive in that first leg. I just wonder, given the injury situation, given not having as many players healthy, I just wonder if Mourinho gambles and says, okay, Dybala, you're in, or some of these other players. I don't see that. I think he's going to try and frustrate Bayer, and it brings me to this. That first goal is going to be massive for a young Leverkusen side. We've seen what happens in Europe and domestically when they get that first goal. They'll take it any which way they want it. Keep an eye, not just in that front three, but both outside backs. Frimpong gets so many accolades, but Becker in Europe, he has been quality as well. If he can get involved more than he was in the first leg, then Leverkusen will have the advantage.
Matt Osman jumping in and saying Sevilla against Roma in the final. Anyone but Juve, he also says. E. Arbode saying Sevilla against Leverkusen. I agree with Matt. It'll be Sevilla, the team that never lose the Europa League final, against Roma with Jose, who never lost a cup final. Nice comment from Krishna coming in right there. And then the bus comment. Everybody seemed to like the bus comment right there. Before we do move on to some fun, go ahead.
He coined that phrase. People kind of forget now because he's like the ultimate bus driver. It was against Tottenham or Bolton when he was Chelsea manager. He complained about them parking the bus.
It was Bolton, I think it was.
It was Bolton.
Rightly back in the day.